Welcome, everyone, to We Didn't Turn Out Okay. I'm here today with Cameron Rogers.
Hi.
Hi. She's a content creator that I followed for years. And now she's a host of her own podcast called Conversations with Cam. For how long now?
Oh my gosh. I actually was just saying this to someone. I forget the year. I want to say it's 7 years. It's 300 episodes in.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, we just did our 300th episode like 2 weeks ago.
I had no idea.
It's been a really long time.
It's so funny that I don't know that, even though I followed you. Well, because when I just launched in January, but I never listened to podcasts before. I just really wanted to talk and to avoid that I knew moms would hear. And so I just started getting more tapped in. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, she just launched too.
Well, I switched over to Dear Media 3 years ago. And then we rebranded the show last year. A year and a half ago. It used to be Freckled Foodie with Friends, originally.
Oh, I thought that was just a TikTok persona.
Freckled Foodie was my handle, way back.
But it was also
But then Freckled Foodie and Friends was my original show. And that I was doing, it was 2018. Yeah, a long time ago.
Incredible.
Because I was doing it in my apartment and I was having people come over. I had got all the equipment. I learned how to edit and release and do all of the things. Yeah, I spent hours on YouTube learning. And then I had a partnership with Samsung, this random ass building they have in meatpacking near where I used to live. And so then I was recording there for a little bit. Sorry, I'm now going on this random tangent.
No, I'll bring us back.
Then I hired a guy there to help freelance, help me edit it. Then COVID happened, so it was all virtual.
Oh my God.
Then I joined Dear Media
recently.
After 2023, I think it was 2022, because I had my first son. And then last year we switched the name to Conversations with Cam because I had changed my handle and I was like, there's no food happening here. So Freckled Foodie and Friends doesn't really make sense. And I felt like it was kind of pigeonholing us. Even when we were pitching guests, it just didn't make sense anymore. So we switched it to Conversations with Cam and rebranded the show last year.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it is kind of new in that way.
Right. And it's also a testament to this relaunch that it sort of was a really impactful launch, not just based on me, but just this new rebranding and announcement.
Yeah.
That's when I picked up on it. Also because I was diving into this world. But yeah, the whole pigeonholing, it's also how I felt about my original name, Mo Mommies. And just we all as content creators kind of go through that shift. Should I be my name? Should I not?
I feel when everyone was starting years ago, it was you had to have a different name.
Yeah.
And then I think now it's so much more important to have yourself as the identity.
Totally. For even deeper reasons, I think too.
Yeah.
Well, can you introduce yourself in your own words as you, but also as a mom?
So I'm Cameron Rogers. I say I'm a content creator, podcast host, mental health advocate, and mom to 2 boys. I have 2 sons who are 4 and 1.5. And I like to say that I share my honest experience as a mom. It's not going to be everyone's honest experience, but it's mine. And really try to remind moms and anyone that 2 conflicting emotions can coexist at once. You can love this and it can be really hard, and that's okay. And we don't have to beat ourselves up over feeling both of those things. We can feel them at the same time. And it's okay to have an identity for yourself outside of being a mom. I think it's very important to do things for yourself. So I prioritize that. I'm big on reminding everyone to fill their cup before they're filling others. So that's kind of what my content focuses on. That bleeds into a lot of my motherhood and parenting style.
That was really good in sort of embodying who you are, especially because before we came here, I was thinking about, I always think what drew me to this guest. And on my way here, I was what really drew me to her? This was years ago too. Remember when we first met at Union Square Plaza? Was the honesty and vulnerability, but not in a way that I feel you were trying to tokenize on it. It was just really this is who I am unapologetically and what I'm struggling with. And you said it's my experience, but clearly it's resonated with others.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you just on that note, because I struggle with this. Do you ever, openly, honestly share and sometimes get emotional and think, will it feel, I don't know, too much?
No, I get what you're saying. So there are times where I'll have like a vulnerability hangover is what I call it. So for me, and I think this is important across the board, but especially if you're interested in content creation, forced vulnerability or honesty, I think is where things get
totally
murky and uncomfortable. And it's like, oh, what? I have always been a very open book. That's always been my personality. I have always, from the day I can remember, been like, I'll lay it all on the table. I don't know where that comes from. I think my parents like instilled deep confidence in me as a kid, and I've always just kind of been like, take it or leave it. If you end up knowing all this about me and you don't like me, I'm totally okay with that. But I want you to know all of this and then decide. I don't want you to make some random judgment off of one thing and be misunderstood. Like, that's where mine is. I'm okay not being liked. It's hard for me to be misunderstood. And I think those are very different things.
Totally.
And I think because of that, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but I kind of like beat you to the punch in a way where I'm like, here, I'll lay it all out and then you can decide. I also have zero filter. And that's for my ADHD, where like it's really hard for me to keep my inside thoughts inside. And I think having grown up like that, of just speaking my mind, I've just kind of trained my brain, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to say what I'm thinking around specifically my feelings and my emotions. Like, I'm very clear to be like, hey, that hurt my feelings. Like, in the moment, if someone says something, or like, wait a second, what just happened? Why'd you say that? Like, I don't let things fester. I really just, I can't physically. And so with that, I feel like I've always just felt comfortable sharing what I'm going through. And there have been times, as more recently, like as I've grown, I've noticed like, okay, maybe I can keep a few things to myself, or maybe I wait to like work through that before I share. But I don't know. I've never had, I really treat my socials like a FaceTime. Like, I feel so close with my community. Obviously, things have backfired on me 100%. Like, not everyone's positive. That's fine. But again, like, it's my experience.
Right.
So we all have different experiences, and we're all in a position that we can share them.
Yeah.
And if it's not for you, then you don't have to watch, and that's totally fine.
Those are the pieces that I want to dive into for a second.
Of course.
So similarly, starting out, I didn't know that I would be open and vulnerable, but I was from the get-go. I was like, there's no way that I can like create this like educating platform without being open and vulnerable, because it was simultaneous with when I gave birth, and I just was like an emotional mess and just wanted to like share and connect. And so I've always been that way also. I think the piece that I'm hearing from you that I'm like, I want more of that, is staying true to that without second guessing. Like, I have gone on like Reddit by accident, maybe, and like, you know, like her, like it's so intense or whatever, and like I hear you being like, yeah, if you don't like it, leave it. That's
their journey, right?
It's not necessarily impacted me where then I become inauthentic, but sometimes I'm like, should I pull back? Like, is this a self-reflective moment? And should I like learn from this?
So my thing is, I don't agree with like, I don't care about anyone's opinion of me, because I do. I really care about my husband's opinion of me. I really care about my parents. I really care about my close friends, my sisters, my family. Like, all of those people, their opinion really matters. I do not care what some random person. Like, there was a period, you mentioned Reddit, like there was a period where when like the forum started, where I remember reading it and I went in a dark, depressive hole. It was like not good. And I promised myself, like, this is not my experience to witness. Like, no one on this planet should know what anonymous people are thinking about them. And so for me, I really took a step back and was like, wait a second. Why is anyone leaving a hate comment, an angry message, or going on a forum board? They want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. They want community. At the very bottom of it, they want community. And because of that, I then look at it as a place of like, I'm really sorry that, and I don't mean this in like a condescending way. I mean this like wholeheartedly. I feel badly that they don't have that community, that they are turning to this. And if that's what they need, then that's their turning.
Like an empathy
that is not mine
reaction
at all. Like, that's not my experience to be on. Again, I have a hard time if I'm misunderstood. If I get a message that's like, you know, this really came across the wrong way, I'm like, oh my God, that's not at all what it was intended. And I'm so sorry, like whatever. So it's not that I don't care what people think. Like I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But if people hate me for like whatever reason they've created, that's on them.
Right.
That is not on me.
It's the reason.
And also, sorry,
no,
not everyone's gonna like me. Like I don't like everyone.
Right.
So like that's just how the universe works. Like
absolutely.
Take the person who's running our country. I don't like him. People love him. We all have different opinions.
He does not care.
He doesn't fucking care. But like everyone has different opinions of people, and like that's the world.
There's no way.
No, one person is loved by everyone.
Yeah, and the reason I'm so fixated on this like kind of component of it of like how has it helped? How has it not made you not reflect but not internalize is the piece is because as I'm raising girls who are now 5 and 7 and getting into like that stage of potentially internalizing things. I mean, we internalize from like birth, honestly, but you know what I mean? Like, or someone might say something, like I'm kind of preparing that I'm someone that from a young age that did, and I'm like trying to figure out like what that was about, not placing blame, but I've stopped internalizing. As you're saying, I've grown, but in my like late 30s, like now that I'm like putting myself out there, I no longer am like, in the dark hole when I read things, but I want to preemptively do that for my kids, like not to create narratives and to more make it like that's what you just said. That's their experience.
That's their experience. I think also like there are times where like it has caused me to reflect and be like, oh, okay, I kind of understand what's happening there, and like I could maybe approach things differently. And I think that that's important. But again, I think that that's more important coming from people whose opinions you trust and know and love and care about. Like you don't ask people for advice whose life you don't want to live.
Yeah.
Like
or
it's true.
Part of like
so you're not going to – that's where I feel like it really matters who's saying it. If my mom pulled me aside and was like, hey, I actually had a conversation with my dad where he didn't like the way I was approaching something. And I was like, I actually like – strongly disagree with you.
In content?
Yeah, in content. And I was like, hey, like absolutely hard disagree. And I brought my mom into the situation and we all like had a bit of a battle. But I took what he was saying and I was like, I see what you're saying. And I don't feel that way. And I am going to stand my foot on the ground. Like it had nothing to do with him. So it wasn't like I was encroaching on his boundary. Yeah. Right. Like that's something I'm very mindful of is protecting the people in my life. Yeah. Like even on my sister's bachelorette, it's like who does not want to be in any of my content? I will take no offense, but I want to make sure that I'm respecting everyone's boundary.
Right, giving like the choice.
Like, I want everyone to have a choice of what's shared, what I'm mentioning, all of those things. Same with my family, same with my in-laws, same with everyone. So it wasn't that, but when I've had moments where people in my life are like, hey, this kind of like I don't think it landed the way that you wanted it to, I'm receptive of that feedback. And like sometimes I've changed and sometimes I've been like,
right. Yeah.
No, I'm going to stand on this.
Right.
As I did with the conversation with my dad.
Yeah. And it's sort of like, it sounds like you take sort of an objective view when needed. Yeah. Right. Then, but otherwise, like I want to circle back. Do you feel like there's anything? Sorry. No, you didn't digress. I'm saying I want to know if you feel like there was anything that helped you get to where you are as an adult. I mean, throughout, like, did you always? Oh, okay.
Like so much therapy. I'm so therapized.
Like there have been times in your life where you have like internalized and had sort of like narratives.
Yes. One that like has taken a long time to break is like I was the bitch of our family. And I feel like...
What made you feel that way?
I mean, everyone called me that. Like it wasn't like I like made that up.
That
was
like
my
just
label.
A feeling.
People were like afraid of me or like, oh, she's
like the whole family.
Yeah. And something that's been hard. So my friends have a joke. My childhood friends have a joke that like Cammie Linville is not Cameron Rogers. Like Cameron Rogers is the therapized, like grown version of me. And the ongoing joke is that my oldest son is like very empathetic, very loving, very sensitive, very caring. And they're like, that kid was raised by Cameron Rogers, not Cammie Linville. And like, they're not wrong. But I was just like way more intense. I was way more competitive. Similarly, I spoke my mind, but my mind always wasn't nice. Like I was my own worst critic and critic of others. Like I can own that 110%. And that label has been hard for me, specifically with my family, because now like, I think we all are more comfortable when we have a box to put someone in, because then like we know where it goes.
Right.
So if there's like a family argument, or if people are like, if there's a fight or something, I feel like it still gets always pinned on me when like I'm not even involved. Like this happened recently where I'm like, I literally sat here in silence. Like, how am I being the one that this is somehow my fault?
We just heard your voice from years
past. No, literally. I'm like, I feel like I'm going insane. Joe, back me up. Like, so I feel like, yes, it is hard to work through and past narratives and labels that other people put on us. That's not, but I don't know the answer to that.
Right. No, I think that was the answer more, that like, that it took time and growth. I heard you say that people have said your oldest son, right? Because he's older and you can kind of see maybe more personality. Was not raised by Cammie Linville. I love that it's like Cammie and not Cameron. Anyway, can you share like just knowing that about him? Are there things that you feel like contributed to that? Like, or was he always this sort of like sensitive, not sensitive, but maybe I'm projecting.
I think it's so fascinating when you talk about like nature versus nurture, because I have 2 boys and they could not be more different. Like down to the like one never spit up, one spit up 100 times a day.
Right.
Like my oldest, I really think we heard him cry twice in 1 year. Like, I'm not kidding. My youngest cries more in an hour than our first cried in an entire first year of his life. Like this sleep, everything was different. Their temperament could just not be more different. And my first has always just been, he's an old soul. Like, he is, every person that meets him, without fail, since the moment he was born, was like, why is he like a 70-year-old man? And like strangers on the street, like he just gives off that energy. He's very verbal. He's very emotionally intelligent, like insanely emotionally intelligent. And it's hard for me because I feel like every parent like will like talk up their child. But then when someone meets him, they're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, this kid is 15. Oh. So he was kind of always like that. Like, I think we definitely talk a lot about our emotions and our feelings and like how to work through them. And I do that with both of my kids. Obviously, who knows how my second will be around this, because he's too young to verbalize any of this. He gives less old soul. He's wild. He's wild. I love him so much. He is just so much fun, and he's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. Very like my first is just very empathetic.
It's interesting that you said that about him, that he's empathetic and old soul, but yet you only heard him cry. I know maybe it was exaggeration, like that he cries less.
Never cried.
You would think someone who's more like.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, okay, a perfect example. We were away on a family trip, and my mom found out that her friend passed away, and he didn't know what was happening. He was 2.5. I don't even think he was 3 yet, because I wasn't pregnant. I don't remember, but he was young. And my mom was like clearly very upset and was sitting
crying
on the couch.
Tears.
Like not sobbing, but crying, sitting on the couch. Right. My dad was next to her.
Upset.
And he just walked up to her and hugged her and was like, Maxie, I feel like your heart needs a hug. Like out of nowhere. And I was like, what the fuck?
I like have chills.
So
I'll
like
tell you why
he's very aware of what is happening. And like he's very aware, even like he's obsessed with Cars, the movie. Like the faces of the cars, he'll be like, why does his face look so angry? Or why does his face look sad, mommy? Like emotional. He I don't know. I can't explain it.
He's like very tapped in.
Very tapped in, but he's not like crying.
Right. He's able to like.
I mean, he cries. Don't get me wrong.
Of course. But he's not. Yeah. It's sort of like what you said, old soul. My older daughter is sort of like empath in that way too. And when she was younger, would sort of like. For instance, she read The Giving Tree. I actually want to reshare this because I it came up in my. She read The Giving Tree at like 2.5 or maybe 3.5. I don't know. And for the first time, and it's this video of her after we finished it, she started crying and without words went and got markers and started filling in the missing parts of The Giving Tree and like pasting pictures of us with The Giving Tree.
Oh my God.
Like it really that's what I'm saying. Like she has those tendencies, but like would be visibly like it would be too much for her.
Right. So it's not that.
Right.
But it's not too much.
Right. He's able. Well, so this is what I was going to ask. Like when you said he's always been that way and went over to your mom, this might be a little bit woo-woo and I'll tell you why I'm thinking it. Do you feel that our kids were once like other.
Oh, he's my grandpa reincarnated.
You
my
do?
whole family.
I was like worried how that
no,
would
no,
land.
no, no, no.
This
is
very
like
new to me.
Ongoing. We've thought this forever.
Okay.
Since the moment he was born, we
and
were
is
like,
that Maxie's dad?
Maxie's dad.
Oh my gosh.
So we have always thought that he was my grandpa reincarnated. Like, it's clear this is not his first life. I believe in all this shit. Like, I believe in past lives. There are similarities in the way they look. Like, the whole thing. He had this picture of my papa from our apartment that used to, now it's in his room. But it used to be on like a bookshelf in our apartment, and he would like grab it and kiss it all the time. He's like very into death right now, which is like really hard for me to like figure out how to talk to him about. Like, has so many questions about it, wants to know like where we're going, what happens, do we all die, when do we all die?
Did it come out of nowhere?
Talking about Papa randomly, my parents were playing the game Operation with him. You know, that like old board game?
Of course.
And he was like, well, Papa was a doctor. And my mom was like, yeah, he was. And he's like, but Papa died. And my mom was like, yeah, he did. And then he's like, why did he die? And he's like, but I thought doctors help us feel better. Why did he die if he's a doctor? When did he die? Is he the first person that ever died? Like, where did he go? Like, would not stop. And then it's like, do we all die? When do we die? If you're old, are you going to, like, lots of questions. I forget where I was going with this. Anyway, yes, I believe in reincarnation.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking that like he definitely was someone else, and I was curious who in your life, so it makes sense. But in terms of like the death talk, as I was listening to all the questions he was asking, it sounded like you navigated them, but then I sensed like the hardship around like when it started to get close to who else died. That's when we get frozen. Like, is my child going to now be worried that I'm going to die? My sister just had breast cancer. She's now cancer-free.
Amazing.
A year later, but I, from the start, was talking to them about it just because I was like, your mom, visibly, I could not, compartmentalize. And I was like comfortable with that until it was like, but what made her have that? Are you going to have that? And then I was like, how do I navigate this? And so anyway, like I was wondering if that's what feels hard about it.
What feels hard about it is like my biggest anxiety trigger since I was a very young kid is like that there is no end of time. Like, I can't think of it. It makes me, like, really sick.
Like, the anxiety is that there is end of time.
No, that, like, time never ends. Like, say, okay, we die. We don't know what happens to us next. But then, like,
life goes on.
It just, like, there's no end.
What feels
it
sad
still makes
about
me want to throw up. It's not that it's sad. It's just that I don't know. My cousin and I, like, talked about it our entire childhood. It was, like, my number one. Like, I was going to have a panic attack anytime we talked about it. So that, I think, that I don't have these answers for him. And it was interesting because it was like he was asking me and Joe, my husband, but my dad was sitting next to me because we were putting him down to bed and we were at my parents' house. And he was like, Mommy, do we all die? And I was like, yeah, honey, like one day everyone does die, because I can't lie and I don't lie to him. And I was like, one day everyone does die, but like it's not something you have to worry about. Like that's something that Mommy will take care of. Like you don't have to worry about it, and it's not for a very long time. But before I answered, I kind of looked at my dad like, what the fuck am I supposed to say here? And Joe was like, that was so, like, you reverted to like a little kid because you were like, Dad? And that was when I realized that he didn't know either. I'm like, we're all fucking throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks.
And I think it brought up for you, like, the fear that you said that you had too. I totally can imagine those scenarios, and it's kind of how I feel when they were asking about my sister. But for me, I used to have such anxiety around death. Like, I would ask my mom all the time, like, are you as old as Nana? Like, that there was an end of time. And I feel like I would have felt better had there not been. But I'm wondering
But I also think that's, like, kids trying to figure out, like, age, place, where it all fits in.
And so I wonder if, like, the whole, like, never-ending time feels so uneasy for you because it's so unanswered.
Yeah. I mean, I like answers. I like control.
And so then it just gets so overwhelming, right? But what if, like, and I'm not going to project what you should feel, like this whole, like, him being your grandfather helps you, like, make sense of that.
Totally. It's not, like, I believe that I'll live other lives.
Right.
It's not
that.
Help? But it's just that, like, that it will just always keep going.
Right. It's
I
sort
can't
of
explain
like
it. Like, it's
Twilight.
Just, like, forever.
Like that, like, right.
Literally forever.
I know.
I don't know. But my younger son, like, you can tell he's like, he's fresh to this world. That's what we joke. We're like, he's new here. And he is here for a good fucking time. Like, he is so funny and just like a ham. Like, he's such a ham and such a character. And, like, their friendship, because they're so different, is so beautiful and so fun to observe. And it just makes me so happy.
I want to ask you about that. Like, you have one sister?
I have two
and
sisters.
Are you middle, older?
I'm middle of 3 girls.
Oh, my God, me too.
Oh, my God. What's your age gap?
We're all 4 years apart.
Okay. We're 3 above me and 5 below me.
Oh, my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Let's talk, like, sibling order a little bit. Do you feel just as close with both? Like,
yeah, we have different relationships. I think our age gaps have been interesting to navigate throughout the phases of our life. So, like, when we were really young, my older sister and I were extremely close, and we, like, didn't want anything to do with our younger sister because she was so young. My mom had 2 miscarriages between me and her. And, like, we were just different stages of life. Then my older sister and I used to butt heads, like, a lot and went through, like, a tougher time of our friendship. And then my younger sister and I got very close. And, like, it was hard for them to relate because they were in such different stages of life. Now I feel like I'm really in the middle where, like, I'm very close with both of them in different ways because I can relate to both of their lives, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 8-year gap has been harder for them.
Right.
And I think that once, like, my younger sister, if she, like, eventually, once she has kids, like, that'll be easier for them because they're just in such different phases now. They're still very close. But I feel like a very classic middle.
It's
where, like,
exactly my experience.
I mediate.
Yeah.
I'm the one, like,
Yeah. And just, like, the different relationships and phases, maybe not in the same order, but I felt very similar to that too. And that harder for them to connect. But, like, have you felt like when you said to mediate, have you felt like sort of the mediator, like, sage of the family as being the middle or not necessarily?
Yeah, I think I'd be curious if they would say the same thing. I think in my family, I'm capable of having, like, the honest, I think we all are, like, we very much all speak our minds. Nothing is, like, festering. We're very blunt and, like, say it how it is. And, like, we can be really not mean, but, like, we dish it and we can take it. And I think I play a role of making sure, like, okay, well, so-and-so feels this way. I think you should do this, like this and this.
Like therapist.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's so many times, I mean, they're still young. There's so many times people will write to me, you know, whether it's that they see a special moment between my girls or before they have a second, they're like, how can I make sure that my kids have a good relationship? And maybe it's coming from a place that they didn't have, or they'll be that in that stage. I don't know if you're there. Usually it always happens where, like, it seems like their kids are just butting heads every corner. It sounds like you're not there.
I'm not there. I will say my first didn't pay attention to our second for the first 6 months of his life. Like, did not acknowledge him. It wasn't in, like, a mean way where he was, like, hitting him or hated him, whatever. But he was like, this might be a blob. So indifferent, beyond indifferent. And I was kind of like, okay. Like, it was very clear that he wanted whoever was with our baby. So, like, if I was holding our baby, he'd be like, Mom, can you come do this with me? And I'd be like, sure. And I'd hand the baby to Joe. And he's like, wait, Dad, actually, I need you. Like, one morning, we had a night nurse a few nights a week. He never saw her because she would leave by 7 a.m. There was one morning she stayed until 8. She came downstairs carrying our baby. My toddler had never met this woman. And he was like, hey, who are you? And she said her name. He was like, I want you to come play trains with me. I'm like, because she's holding him? Are you kidding? So it was very much clear that, like, he was aware.
Totally.
But this had was how no he interest.
Yeah.
Now they're obsessed with each other. Like, our youngest, last night was the first night they weren't together because my youngest came into the city to spend the night with my parents. I mean, my oldest came into the city to spend the night with my parents. That's and so my youngest was running around the house for an hour, screaming, brother, 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 brother. When we were getting ready for bed, I was, like, crying. I was like, oh my God, he misses him so much. But they are very, very obsessed with each other. And because they're different, our older son gets very annoyed with him sometimes because he's, like tackling him and jumping on him and, like, very like playful in that manner. And my youngest is like, can you just sit and, like, play with my cars calmly? Like, stop.
Right, like trying to tame it. Do you remember, like, early memories with your sisters?
Early memories with my younger sister, I used to literally bribe her with rocks to leave my friends and I alone and lock her in my dad's closet. One.
Your older
My
sister?
younger sister.
Oh, you're
I
younger.
would bribe her with these like crystals.
That's so
And
funny.
then I'd give it to her, and then the next day I'd steal it back from her room, and I'd say, if you want this back, you need to leave my friends and I alone for hours. And like, I was so mean to
That
her.
was like sort of the theme though. Like my older sister, I worshipped when she had her friends over. She was 4 years older. She would let me, before her friends come over, she would think one step ahead of you. She would put me in her closet and be like, we're going to hang out in the room. Like, here's some things that, like, pick out what you want to do. And
like,
you have to hide in there.
Sit in the closet. That's so funny.
And I have memories of that. I didn't mind.
Like
I was
that,
like, I'm hanging out with my sister.
With mine, like, she really wanted to be in with my friends. Maddie, my older sister, will tell you that I bullied her. And I don't find that to be true. But she thinks I did.
Like, in what sense?
Maddie and I are very much like what I see in my two children. We're like rule follower, like calm, docile, my older sister and my oldest son, and then a fucking crazy lunatic as a second, which is why I think I like really feel so connected to my second, because I'm like, I feel so deeply connected to both of them. But in my second, I'm like, I see me so much in you. Like, you're crazy.
There's times where I see none of me in my kids. And I read somewhere recently that sometimes you have kids that are the version of you that like maybe you always wanted to be, but couldn't, like weren't confident enough to. And that's how I feel about my second. She's like literally performing and dancing everywhere. And I was like a dancer performer, but then like got more insecure as I got older. And so I just see her as like, that's like always what I wanted to be, but you know, came out in this version like years later. And so I just think there's like so much there. Do you mind me asking, does your older have kids?
Yeah, she's 2 kids.
And are they like older, younger than yours?
She just gave birth to her second like a few weeks ago. So we don't know her vibe yet. And then her older son is a little younger than my older son. So they are like this. They're so cute together. They're so like, we live very close. So it's so wonderful. As someone who grew up exceptionally close with their cousins.
Yeah, it's so special.
Such a gift. And it's why I'm like so stressed about my younger sister not having kids yet.
But she's like
I know, but like I also don't want to rush her. Like that's just the age gap.
Right.
That's the reality of the gap of our age.
Before my younger was a mom, there were so many moments that I was like, she'll understand once she's a mom. Like we really butted heads once I became a mom.
Yeah.
I think it really shifted my relationship with her as like always being able to be there for her as like, you know, just a nurturer to her and like a second mom to her. And I'm wondering, because your sister just had her bachelorette for people who don't know.
Yes.
So she's not far behind you.
No,
I mean, it was amazing. Not far behind you, but there's definitely been years of experience from like Cammie to like Cameron as the mom.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's shifted how you've been able to show up for her?
I don't know if we like butted heads over it. There have been some times where I'm like, I can't do that. Like, you need to take this on. Or like, if she'll ask things of me and I'm like, no, like I can't anymore.
And she gets it?
Yeah,
or
she
always
gets it.
got it?
We also lived in the same building when I had my first.
So she like saw it
So
firsthand.
she was like very involved, which was so helpful. And she's very aware that she's like, I don't know how you function as a human. Like, she's just like, I don't know how you do this. Like, I think she's almost too close to watching my older sister and I parent that
which
she's
is
like a
so
little scared
good
to have kids. Because she's like, what the fuck is this?
I
Like,
think
when
that's
we're at
like
the beach
best
all weekend,
prep.
she's like, oh, you guys have been up for like 3 hours doing this? And like, I just came downstairs from waking up. Like, she's very aware.
Right.
So
she probably has never been
I think like her biggest thing is she's like upset that like Joe and I don't want to like party with her and her fiance like at the beach and stuff, or like over the summer. She's like, just stay up, hang out, play, like be with us. And I'm like, I love you, I need to go to bed. I get it, it's hard. And then I think, look, we all go on an apology tour when we have kids.
Oh my God.
Like, we go to our friends, we go to our siblings, whoever it be, and be like, hey, I thought I was there for you. Like, sorry. Because
I thought I was the only one that experienced that like deep, immense. I'm like, I literally need to like call everyone who gave birth before. Oh, yes. I remember I like really resonated with you.
I did. I straight up called friends and I was like, hey, so remember that time I was like outside your door, like really trying to like meet your baby? That was fucked up. But like, we don't know. Right. You can never understand. Like, and that honestly is one of the biggest not compliments the wrong word, but my favorite message to receive is I my sister or my cousin or my best friend just had a baby and I feel like I knew how to show up for them because of you. And I'm like, if in some way my content is helping someone's friend show up for them in postpartum, that's the greatest gift I could ever give someone. Greatest gift I could ever give someone. And I get that message a lot. And I'm always like, that's truly my job here is done.
And what I love about that, and you can like maybe elaborate a little so people understand, what I loved about that, not only was it like respecting people's boundaries of like meeting the baby and stuff, but the guilt that I felt wasn't necessarily around that. It was more like I just would be like, oh, here, she's beautiful, like mazel tov. Like that it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And not to like show up, you know, uninvited, but more like honoring what it took, right? Or what it's going to take. Or, you know, to me, I remember even when I had my second, like what resonated most with me was when people would be like just so real and honest and be like, look, I don't know how you're feeling, but just know it's okay to like mourn time when it was just tests. Or like those things were just like, oh
because
my
they've
gosh.
experienced it. Again,
right.
Like no one would know that. And I also think for someone, you know, there's a lot of content around like you find out who your real friends are when you have kids. Like you also have to give people grace.
Of course.
Like how would you expect someone to know what it's like to walk in your shoes if they haven't walked in them?
100%.
And also like no one's going to love your kid as much as you do. Like you have to accept that. Like I don't want, of course my friends don't want to like look at photos of my children all day long. They're not theirs.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Duh.
And there was times with my younger sister where I was just like, she'll understand once she's there, and like it let me give her grace, you know, when she would be like, I don't get it. Like, aren't you still a sister or whatever? Right. We were very like far apart in like experiences. I went on her bachelorette 7 weeks postpartum.
Oh, wow. Lucy and I joke that Maddie planned her pregnancy so that she wouldn't have to go on Lucy's bachelorette because she's 5 weeks postpartum, and we obviously were like, do not come.
I know.
And Lucy was like, we just talked about this. We recorded this morning during our recap, like joking that she planned her pregnancy because that is Maddie's nightmare. Like being with that 18, 28-year-old in the Dominican Republic, like Maddie's like, eject me from the situation. I'm out. And even if she weren't postpartum, Lucy and I were saying, like, we would have told her she doesn't have to come.
Right.
Like, why I think that's one thing where we all give each other a lot of grace. We understand our differences. And, like, that's okay. Yeah. We don't need you to be everything for all of us. Like, we have different relationships and totally fine.
That's, like, such an amazing, like, realization when people outside of you understand that, too. Yeah. And it sounds like Lucy is very much, like, ahead of the game in that.
Yeah.
Just because it resonates with me, and I feel like it's part of our conversation a little bit. You mentioned ADHD.
Yeah.
And just because I'm like, wait, we forgot to like close the loop on that. But like I also, anyway, give us a little bit of grace. But I really believe that I have that, but later in life. And so I'm wondering if it's like maybe, you know, now there's more distraction and, you know, I'm not sure. Or if it was something I always had. It sounds like you always knew you had it.
I was diagnosed younger. Yeah.
And what can you share?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed when I was like, it's so funny because if you ask my mom, she has no memory of me being diagnosed. But like I have vivid memory.
Like your truth.
Because my younger sister was diagnosed and hers was way more intense in the way that it showed. And she ended up going on medication. I was diagnosed. I chose not to go on medication because I didn't like the way it made me feel.
So you were older then, obviously.
Yeah. I was in...
Then I mean like a 5, 7.
No, it was like beginning of high school because I remember I had extended time for tests and stuff. But I think what's confusing for my mom when we reflect back, and sure my dad worked a very fucking intense job where like he love him to death. He was not around. Like he commuted to the city from Central Jersey. He left at 4:30, 5 a.m. every day. Came home after we went to bed, traveled like many weeks. He was there on the weekends, but he was also working all day Sunday. Like blessed that it allowed us the life that we live. But my mom was very much like in the weeds more than he was. And I think sidebar, like that's also what's been such a beautiful gift for his relationship with our children, his grandchildren, because he's like getting to experience the things that he never did.
Like the day to day when he's there. Yeah.
And he like never got that. And now he's like so heavily involved with our kids. And I was a very high functioning, anxious / ADHD person. So I I did very well in sports my entire life.
I recently saw that reel that I was obsessed with. I was like, she should share that. Not only just real big quick caveat, because I loved people's responses like, athlete, but
no, I was like, I'm literally broken inside right now.
But no, I think it's so interesting to share those things about ourselves from like the like what you're getting now. And like I can picture you like killing it on the track and soccer field. Like,
so I was playing sports my whole life, and I was always doing really well. Like, I'm not saying that in an annoying way, but like I was a captain of every team I was on. Like, great. And a lot of that came from inner anxiety and like having to make sure that I was like doing what was expected of me and all of those things. But it was high performing anxiety. So like from the outside, I was getting all these accolades, and I was like, well, now I have to continue to get them.
Right.
And like the best example I can give is I didn't do well in school in high school. And like my mom and I butted heads a lot over that. Like academics were really important to her and like being the best. And I just wasn't. And when I was in college, I don't know what shifted, but I decided to take it seriously. And I remember the fall of freshman year, I got a 3.93. And I was like, I can never do worse than this.
Right.
I can never get anything below this. I have to graduate.
Maybe that's why you didn't
3.9.
take it seriously before. You were already in the cycle of like not doing as well.
Yeah, so it was like, well, whatever.
You're like, but now I can like
but
start.
That's how my brain works, where it's like, I can't let people down now. Like,
or
look
yourself.
at how much. It was less about me.
Really?
It was about outside, like,
accolades. And
and like how proud my parents were of me. So in terms of ADHD, I feel like I was able to like
channel it,
use tools, all of the things to use it to my advantage. And still sometimes I do feel like it's the way I'm able to do so many things with work because my brain is in so many places at once. That being said, motherhood was like the added stimuli that just like threw me over the cliff. Like I simply couldn't do it. And it was hitting a point where my brain never shut off, but also like I couldn't get things done. Like I would have to have Joe like hold my hand at the end of the day to be like, walk me upstairs and be like, wash your face, put on your lotion, put on your pajamas, get in bed. Like I couldn't. I'd be like, la, 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 like everywhere.
I really relate to that.
And I see that in people who I love and don't want that for me personally. And so I went on medication.
Can you give an example there? Like you'll see them just
frazzled.
Yeah.
Like just completely frazzled. And that's not how I want to show up for myself, for my kids, for my family. That's not how I want to be.
100%. Yeah.
Like I want to be calm.
Yeah.
And able to chill. And I'm working on that. But
before Joe would walk you up and you were like, I just couldn't anymore, was there something that you sought out? Was it therapy? Like what helped you?
Well, so I do a lot of things. I'm in therapy. I'm on anxiety medication and now ADHD medication. A combo that I found that works for me is Strattera and sertraline.
This was all after birth. I mean, after kids.
That was before kids, medication and therapy. ADHD medication was after kids. Meditation, journaling. I journal every single morning. I have a journal. It's great. Quiet your mind and busy your hands because I literally just want to quiet my mind and busy my hands. Like that's all I want to do in life. So it's part journal, part adult coloring affirmation book.
I love that.
And then
wait, was that what we got at the parallel thing? Oh my God, I love that. This is like my ADHD
That's
coming out that like of course I didn't connect the dots and just loved it and used it. I just need to plug it now because I've gotten so many. It is really amazing.
Thanks. I know. I love it. I created it for me because I was like, I want really this great. And it doesn't exist. Also like even the way that I used to study in school, like my outlines were so intense. My notes, my outlines, the highlighting, like I was strategizing on all of the ways to like make my brain work and function. So my calendar, like my notes apps, everything. Because if I don't do something with a thought, it's gone.
Right.
So.
And then motherhood makes those like tools impossible.
Yeah. And like it just added on 10,000 different mental tasks and decisions and things that like my brain didn't have capacity for at the time.
Yeah.
So I started medication. I really enjoy it personally. Like it's helped me a lot. And now I feel like I can better manage everything that's going on.
It's amazing that you like recognize that you like got the help that you needed and that you have this thing that works for you.
Yeah.
I say thing that embodies all of that.
Of course.
I want to just share I was on sertraline, which if people don't know is Zoloft. So I was like 17 when I went on anxiety medication. Not because I couldn't focus, but I couldn't cope with like the anxiety around like some of the things you're talking about. I wanted to be the best, but it was more like an internal pressure I was putting on myself. And then, still I want to say this day, but I will share because we're just talking about it, that like about like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I had someone on the podcast who created the Psychedelic Medicine Coalition, and she created that because she was like struggling postpartum. I don't know if I sent it to you, I think.
Oh, I'm big. No. We can talk about psychedelics if you want to.
So that's why I want to get into it. Anyway, I had her on. It's a long story about how she got on, and I know we don't have like endless time. And in that interview, she was like, I was like almost suicidal. And I didn't want to go on SSRIs or an anxiety or depression medication because I had close friends who didn't have good experiences with them. And I wanted to like literally interrupt her and be like, no, it's great, whatever. I've been on it so long. And and so that was her like truth, and that was not an option for her. She heard a random podcast on this road trip with her husband. Anyway, ended up growing her own mushrooms as like a last dip effort. Yeah. And started to see the light. And now created the Psychedelic Medicine Coalition, works in government, is like behind certain studies around it. But what resonated with me during that interview was it's the only substance, and maybe I'm quoting wrong, or I didn't do enough research, that helps to rewire like neural connections.
Pathways. Yeah.
And SSRIs and things like that can kind of like dull them, is what she said. And so after that, I was like, like I thought I would like die on Zoloft and be not die from it. I would be on it the rest of my life, like very comfortable and happy with it, like totally no issue. But it stuck in my mind. And so I can't believe I'm sharing this. It feels organic. So like fast forward a month ago, I did a journey. Okay. And to do that, and I'm going to have them actually on the podcast, so I will share more then. But they suggested being off of medication. And I was like fine about that to do it because there were times like my sertraline made me tired. So there were times where I would just like not take it one night, which I don't recommend, but I wasn't nervous to not be on it. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I didn't go back on it.
Yeah, so I tapered a bit before my journey.
Oh, you did it too?
Yeah. Wait,
did you share that?
You can, I shared. So I did it was a psychedelic sound bath. So,
but you went off it before?
I didn't fully go off it. I was still on a dosage of it. I had tapered a bit. So like I had lowered my dosage a little bit beforehand.
But you were like nervous to go totally off, or you were just like, I don't need to.
Necessary. Right. I've done plenty of mushrooms on it, and I was like,
I can feel enough.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. I just felt like I didn't want to go off of it. I'm very susceptible to drugs, so I felt like I'd be fine. I told myself, like my psychiatrist knew all of this, like we're good. Right. The journey that I did was a medical dose of MDMA and then 3.5 grams of psilocybin. So I was on fucking Mars. But it was incredibly healing, incredibly expansive, and something I'm still working through, some of the stuff that came up. I want to say it was like 2 months ago. So I feel like I'm in a good place now, but I fully believe in the power of plant medicine. Like I'm a huge proponent of cannabis. I love cannabis. I love psilocybin. Like I think that there has to be an acknowledgement that I am like a white woman saying this when there are plenty of people still incarcerated for like drug charges that are now no longer illegal, and that's so fucked up. And I highly recommend checking out Last Prisoners Project just to plug them. But I think that in our near future, this is going to be a huge focus in mental health and wellness. Like we're already seeing it in some states. I receive a lot of people projecting stigma around specifically cannabis, which fascinates me because I'm like, if I told you this was a glass of wine, you'd be like, mommy juice. But because it's weed, you're like judging me. Yeah. And I will also say that is rooted in racism, but that's a separate conversation. I just think that they hold so much power and can be really incredible tools.
Yeah. On that note, like I really, first of all, I need to like delve into more clearly to hear if there's like links to where you've shared this? Like, do you have posts and things like
about
that?
my
I knew
experience?
you always shared about cannabis, and I knew you shared about psilocybin, and I really connected with that.
Yeah.
I've been, using psilocybin on like a very low level of like microdosing since like 2020. The first time I tried it, I was like, I wish every mom who was postpartum. I was running mom groups, and the first thing I said was, I want to give this to every mom in my mom group.
I have an episode with Lucy, my younger sister, where I'm telling her about the journey.
Okay, so I want to hear that.
But
yeah, there's like
what came up for me. Yeah. But
the stigma is real, and like, just it's rooted in history and, as you said, racism and things like that. But I do think there's so much promise there. But I wanted to share, just that, I really felt like, who knows, maybe tomorrow I'll be like, I need Zoloft again. But it was just a very healing, transformative, like rewiring,
totally
so far for me.
I also get a lot of messages that are like, but when do you think you'll ever go off of it? And I'm like, I don't know.
Right. And you don't need to.
And it doesn't matter.
Totally.
In my opinion. Like, I'm not doing this being like, oh, God, I can't be on this forever. Like,
me neither.
Day by day.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And 100%.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you besides what you shared in the beginning? Like, can you be explicit so that I also know
of course,
exactly?
To put in your show notes, yes. Instagram and TikTok, it's at Cameron Oaks Rogers. My podcast is Conversations with Cam. We release an episode every Wednesday. We also have social pages for that. So it's at Conversations with Cam on Instagram, at Conversations_with_Cam on TikTok. Then my Substack is Fill Your Cup. It's CameronOaksRogers.substack.com. I do part like every Friday is kind of like a roundup of like what I'm wearing, reading, watching, loving, etc. And then every Monday is Mom's Musings, which dives deeper into like a motherhood form of conversation, whether it's like a guide of something I'm thinking about or like a journal style entry. Like I just wrote one about like how having a third child is my Roman Empire of like when. So that's more motherhood focused. And then if you want to buy what we were talking about, Quiet Your Mind and Busy Your Hands, it's quiet-your-mind.com. I did it.
Oh my God. Amazing. And here I was at the start of this being like, I feel like I have too many things, but you have a lot of things, but they're all just so amazing that I want to dive into all of them right now, especially the Substacks. And anyway, thank you so much for being here, sharing so openly. And thank you all for listening.